From Kansas State University, this is Agriculture Today. Eric Atkinson here. And coming up today, K-State's Nathan Nelson will talk about his ongoing research on cover crops and their capability of reducing sediment and nutrient runoff from crop fields. His work was on display at the K-State Agronomy Cover Crops Field Day last Friday. Then K-State's A.J. Sharda will look ahead to 2 precision agriculture technology workshops being co-hosted by K-State next week, one on maximizing the use of crop imagery collected by unmanned aerial vehicles, and the other featuring the very latest on precision technology for applying liquid crop inputs. And further ahead with his weekly commentary on rural Kansas, K-State's Gus Vanderhoeven. All this and more next on Agriculture Today.
Science Communication Week is coming to Manhattan November 6th through 11th. Kansas State University, Sunset Zoo, and Flint Hills Discovery Center are bringing together local science students, professors, and professionals, as well as journalists from National Public Radio and National Geographic to share their insights and discoveries. Find out about all the free public events at k-state.edu/SciComm. That's k-state.edu/SCICOMM.
Well, last Friday, just south of Manhattan at the university's Ashland Bottoms Research Farm, the Department of Agronomy here at K-State hosted its 2017 Agronomy Field Day, a large crowd of producers turning out for this event, which revolved around K-State's extensive research into cover crops for an array of purposes which were discussed at the field day, including weed suppression, soil quality improvement, nutrient management, and as a functional part of various crop rotations. And one other aspect of cover crops was discussed by a K-State soil fertility and nutrient management researcher, Nathan Nelson, that is, protecting surface water with a combination of healthy soils, fertilizer management, and cover crop utilization. Preserving water quality is a universal interest, as Nathan noted in his presentation, as he defined cover crops for purposes of promoting water quality.
A cover crop is going to be a crop that you grow outside of the normal growing season. You wouldn't harvest this crop, but rather keep it in the field just to cover the soil, add biomass and residue, and protect the soil from erosion. It can also increase organic matter, increase biological activity, things like that.
And he further outlined the water quality issues that he and colleagues are attempting to address through their research.
The water quality concerns that we're interested in here mostly are sediment loss or erosion and phosphorus loss. Phosphorus is a nutrient essential for crop growth, increases crop production. At the same time, when the phosphorus gets into the water, it increases biological growth and algae growth and can cause water quality concerns. The sediment can cause sedimentation issues, so we want to reduce sediment loss and reduce phosphorus loss. A cover crop can potentially do both of those things, can change the runoff dynamics, reduce the amount of energy of the runoff, the flow that's coming off the field, and reduce erosion. By covering the soil, it reduces raindrop impact and soil dispersion and reduces soil erosion there as well. Phosphorus is often associated with sediment, or it transports with the sediment. And so if we reduce erosion, we can generally reduce phosphorus loss as well.
And he reminded that on several levels, it is in the producer's best interest to minimize these forms of runoff.
A producer needs to be concerned about erosion and nutrient loss from 2 different standpoints. One, if we keep those nutrients and the soil in the field, that's going to maintain productivity and be better for crop production, right? Most producers are familiar with ephemeral gullies or erosion, and that can not only hurt yield long run, but can just be a pain to have to farm with. Can cause problems with field operations. So the more we can do to keep our soil in the field, stop erosion, the better our farming is going to be. Nutrients, again, essential for crop production. If we can keep the nutrients in the field, then in the long run we would need to add less fertilizer.
And Nathan emphasized in his presentation the off-farm implications of water quality preservation.
Water is an extremely valuable resource for the entire state, for agriculture and the citizens as well. We use water for many different purposes. Obviously, we drink it, and it's important for our daily lives, and it's also an important part of recreation. A lot of industry and businesses have grown up around using our reservoirs and our lakes and our rivers as a source of recreation and enjoyment. It adds to overall quality of life. We've got a lot of people who like to live near water, and they like to be associated with that. And so it's an important part of our society and of our lives, and so we want to protect that. If we get harmful algal blooms in water, it causes odor issues. It can even cause lakes to be closed down where we can't even have any water contact or can't be out and around them. It can increase drinking water treatment costs, and even in some severe cases make water unsuitable and untreatable, so they can't treat it and can't clean it out. So it's important for us to protect our water and care for it so that we can use it and make the most of this valuable resource.
So Nathan went on to talk about his research initiatives as he has collaborated with producers in trying out various cover crops and evaluating their erosion control and water quality attributes.
So I've been working with producers for the past 12 years on water quality issues. I started out working down around the Cheney Lake watershed on some important water quality issues there, and have worked with producers across the state. And it's been a very common theme throughout all of this that producers are interested in protecting water quality. Producers want to be good stewards of the land. They recognize that resources are of value, not only to them but to the state as a whole, and they want to be good stewards. They also recognize that if they don't take care of the land, if they're not the ones that are good stewards of the land and water, then other people are going to want to step in and make decisions there. Producers would like to keep control of the decisions on their land. I think that producers and the agronomists that we have working here in the state are the correct people to be making decisions on land, and I'd like to see them maintain control of their fertilizer applications, their field operations, and their management. In order for them to do that, they need to show that they're being good stewards, and they recognize that.
So then, as for tangibles, the kinds of things that Nathan and his fellow researchers are seeing from the establishment of cover crops within rotations, noting that his work is oriented toward the long term, what are they finding out to date?
So one of the things that we have seen here in this research that was a little unexpected was that we have seen an increase in the dissolved phosphorus concentration with the cover crops. The cover crops have not reduced the total phosphorus loss that like we had expected or hoped that they would. So the next steps are going to be looking at fine-tuning our fertilizer management. We have seen good evidence that subsurface placement of fertilizer reduces phosphorus loss. We'd like to see if we can refine our phosphorus application rates and reduce our phosphorus application rates to cause a minimum loss. We'd also like to look and see if there may be different options for cover crops or cover crop management that might reduce the amount of dissolved phosphorus loss. Maybe planting some spring cover crops rather than winter cover crops. Maybe using a different mix of cover crop species that might do a better job at controlling that phosphorus loss.
However, in terms of overall runoff reduction from fields, their research is racking up some positives, says Nathan.
Some of the things that are easiest to see is that the cover crops reduce sediment loss by 70%. That's a pretty big reduction in sediment loss, and it's very easy to see in the runoff that's coming off the field. Much less sediment coming off when we use the cover crops. And that can help producers recognize that even when they're using no-till practices, there's still some sediment loss, and they can protect that or reduce that sediment loss by using cover crops, keep that soil, keep the nutrients in their field, and increase their crop production that way.
So, this research focus on the impact of cover crops on water quality will continue, and Nathan did express his gratitude for those who are investing in this research cause with their support.
I really appreciate the agricultural industry and their support of this project. this project is primarily funded through the fertilizer industry and through the Kansas Corn Commission and the Kansas Soybean Commission, and it means a lot to me that the people that are backing this research are those that are that are out using the fertilizers, that are out managing the land. They're the ones that are interested in finding out answers to these questions, and I greatly appreciate their interest and support.
That's Nathan Nelson, K-State Soil Fertility and Nutrient Management Agronomist, speaking at his tour stop during the 2017 K-State Agronomy Cover Crops Field Day. Very well attended this past Friday at the Ashland Bottoms Research Farm south of Manhattan. Again, the emphasis of his work on protecting surface water through field management, including cover crop utilization. We hope to have Nathan in next week to expand further on his work in this area. As a matter of fact, it's our plan to have Mike Side, his colleagues from K-State Agronomy, who also presented on that program, to get into the other aspects of cover crops for weed suppression, for nitrogen management, and so forth. Meantime, as we've talked of frequently here on this broadcast, K-State has been involved in a bevy of cover crop-oriented research projects of late. If you go to the K-State Department of Agronomy website, you will find summaries of that work to date. You can access that at agronomy.ksu.edu. Once more, agronomy.ksu.edu. We'd invite you as well to visit with your local Extension agricultural agent about cover crop options that are likely to work in your location for whatever purpose you're interested in. You're listening to Agriculture Today. When we come back, a complete rundown of 2 precision agriculture technology workshops coming up next week of great appeal to you producers who are into using UAVs or drones to collect field data and who are committed to precision liquid crop input applications. More on all of that shortly with our next guest here on the K-State Radio Network.
Agriculture and food systems are the main drivers of the Kansas economy, but must be improved in order to feed the world's growing population. How are we going to do so? Reduce food loss, find ways to preserve grasslands, and help families stretch their dollars. Global food systems is one of the 5 grand challenges K-State Research and Extension is addressing. To learn more, visit www.ksre.ksu.edu.
We're back now on Agriculture Today, and we've information for you out of the Precision Agriculture Program, K-State Research and Extension. It is teaming up once again with the Kansas Ag Research and Technology Association, or CARTA, to extend more education and information to producers and those involved with precision technologies on the land in the form of 2 workshops, and they are directly ahead. One is set for this coming Monday in Great Bend, the other coming up on Friday, November the 17th. Across the way, precision agricultural engineer with K-State Research and Extension, A.J. Sharda. Well, we'll take these in order, A.J., and talk of what's set for the 13th, that is, a Monday in Great Bend. This is called a crop imaging workshop. What is the aim of this particular program?
Thank you for having me, Eric.
Sure.
The aim of this workshop is kind of give producers or end users who are interested in imagery using some sort of aerial platforms to understand the possibilities which this technology can offer in terms of identifying things in the field. When I'm saying, whether it is pest, differences in hybrids, any difference because of different soil types, irrigation, any other stress part of it. So this is a workshop which aims at letting people know that there is another technology which can parallel the advantages of scouting on a larger scale in terms of spatial and temporal manner. There are aspects which can give us more direct information from this imagery versus scouting. and there are some aspects where the scouting works better. So I think we really, and some of the people who are coming to this workshop are want to hone down that you have a piece of information which is much more detailed, has lots of information on it, but then if you can do a scouting in a nice manner, you can put those two together and start to understand things happening on the ground.
This is really one of the more exciting emerging areas using UAVs, unmanned aerial systems, or drones, if you prefer, to gather that information. And we're just on the opening edge of those possibilities, aren't we, AJ?
Absolutely. And you very rightly said, because what these imaging systems are giving us is a piece of information on paper, but what it means on ground has to come from our scouting information. People with boots on ground and who are going to different areas in the field and picking up those differences which are visible in your imagery, in terms of map you have in your hand, and then come back and tell, okay, so this is what it means in terms of highs and lows on your map. Because same aerial imagery, whether you're doing an NDVI or blue NDVI or green NDVI or pigment index, whatever you are trying to do, can mean different things based on what is happening on the ground. The same imagery in terms of high and low scales can mean low and high yields, less or more biomass, less or more pest attack, well-drained versus drowned areas. So it's all about good scouting to assign right kind of information to that map.
So this workshop will provide clarification on all of that and talk about the devices themselves and what's possible. So it'll be a comprehensive overview of this then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And it's a one-day workshop, but it will acquaint people about what are the possibilities, what are some of the pros and cons of scouting, what are some of the pros and cons of imagery, what are the tools available in the market right now, how can we use it to our advantage to get some more holistic understanding of things happening on our fields. And as you rightly said in the beginning, it's a process. We are just getting started. As people will get into this aspect of imagery and tying the ground scouting information to it, they will have more information about their fields on a much faster pace so that we can decide on our input rates, nutrient, pesticides, or whatever it may be.
It is an exciting new area. It's full of intricacies. Those will be covered at this workshop. And once again, if you're a member of CARTA, it's a free workshop. Otherwise, $25, a nominal fee to cover the costs of the proceedings and the like. And they can register at the CARTA website, presumably, AJ?
Yes. Yeah, there is a form available on the CARTA website. You can go on and just register. You should be able to find that link very easily.
Excellent. And we'll repeat that address in just a moment. That's just one of the two workshops, the crop imaging workshop, again on Monday, November the 13th at Great Bend. The other will be right here on the Kansas State University campus on Friday, the 17th of November. AJ, this is a liquid application technology workshop. As the name would imply, fluid crop inputs and the application tech that is out there now will be on full display and full discussion, correct?
Absolutely. We have been thinking to do this liquid application workshop for a long time. There is a lot of interest from folks in the state and from the farmers, and more importantly, because we have seen a lot of new technology coming out for producers to see if that works for them and explore the possibilities of integrating into their production systems. So with that in mind, and I also want to emphasize that over the last 2 or 3 years, a lot of industry partners have extended a lot of help, be it from equipment side or collaborative research projects. So this is a really great opportunity to bring all those people on campus, wanting to show them what we have at K-State going in terms of precision ag, plus give them opportunity to talk about some of the benefits about those technologies, what can they do, and things of that nature.
There's so much to this program. Might pick out a couple of highlighted technologies and talks. What really stand out to you, AJ?
Overall, if I want to say in 30 seconds, first we'll have sprayers, which is the liquid application, heart and soul aspect of it. We'll have some people from chemical company. We'll have some people from nozzle company. We'll have some people who are making rate controllers. The technology which is getting onto all of our newer sprayers, which is pulse width modulation, or the thing which has come out from John Deere side, Exact Applies. All of these things will be there. From my side, if you ask me, the 2 or 3 top things which I would say will be the highlight.
They're all good.
They're all very good, actually. They're all very good. But one thing is there'll be a couple of latest state-of-the-art sprayers on display. We will have one sprayer with Exact Apply system. We'll have a Hagie sprayer. So a John Deere and a Hagie sprayer to talk about. People will have an opportunity to see what that sprayer looks like, an opportunity to fire it up, hop on and ask questions. Then there is a technology which is from MicroTrack. It's a foaming system, which is a mechanism to put insecticide in the furrow while you are planting. We got this technology on our planter, so we'll have that technology on display, and there'll be a couple of people to answer some of the things from that perspective. Then we are also very excited about having people from Topcon. They are bringing their full-scale display in terms of GPS steering and their new controllers, which they call Apollo, and they are trying to get into the liquid application and the seeding technology side of it. And then obviously 360 Yield Center, that's a technology which people would like to see. Nitrogen or nutrient application is one of the biggest things. A lot of cost involved, a lot of strategy in terms of pre-season, in-season. How do you split it? Should I side dress, knife it? Surface or streaming. So I'm not saying that this guy will cover everything, but you'll have an opportunity to ask questions and see what this technology has to do for you.
There are loads of things to see, loads of things to hear about within this program. It is outstanding. If precision technology for liquid application on crop ground is a high interest of yours, it's a definite be there event here at Kansas State University. That'll take place November the 17th from 8:30 in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon at the Stanley Stout Center. That's toward the north end of the campus. Very easy to get to. Go to this web address, and by the way, the registration details, much the same as they are for the crop imaging workshop. $25 if a non-CARTA member. CARTA members get in as part of their membership free of charge. Go to cartaonline.org. Again, that's the Kansas Ag Research and Technology Association website, cartaonline.org, to register for one or both of these important workshops coming up quite soon now. AJ, the best of luck with both of these. Thank you for coming over.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you very much.
He is A.J. Sharda, Precision Agricultural Engineer with K-State Research and Extension, and, of course, Research and Extension and the Kansas Ag Research and Technology Association are co-hosting these events. The first, again in Great Bend on the 13th, the Crop Imaging Workshop. That Great Bend meeting will take place at the American Ag Credit Building there. And the second on the 17th, Friday, the Liquid Application Technology Workshop here on the Kansas State University campus. Again, that's at the Stanley Stout Center toward the north end of the campus, just north of Kimball Avenue. You are tuned in to Agriculture Today. Now, this break. When we come back, today's agricultural news headlines for you. And awaiting with this week's edition of Stop, Look, and Listen, K-State's Gus Vanderhoeven. That's still ahead here on the K-State Radio Network. Please stay with us. For 25 years, K-State Research and Extension's Kansas Agricultural Mediation Services has been providing a no-cost, confidential place to call in and visit with an agricultural lawyer. Our experts are available to help you producers handle legal and financial issues. Explore your options and generate solutions. Call us at 800-321-3276 or visit us online. Kansas Agricultural Mediation Services. Agriculture Today continues now here on the K-State Radio Network. Eric Atkinson with you. Time now to turn to today's agricultural news page and these headlines, courtesy in part of DTN. Yesterday, House Agriculture Committee leaders and a group of prominent farm lobbyists called on the Trump administration not to withdraw from the North American Free Trade Agreement and to finish the negotiations quickly to avoid a decline in U.S. farm exports. Agriculture Committee Chairman Mike Conaway of Texas and Ranking Member Colin Peterson of Minnesota met with the lobbyists to discuss NAFTA. At a news conference afterward, Conaway, Peterson, American Farm Bureau Federation President Zippy Duvall, and pork, dairy, grains, fruit, and vegetable lobbyists all said they were unified in opposition to withdrawal and in favor of a quick end to the negotiations. The difficulty in their mission, though, was demonstrated when dairy lobbyists defended the Trump administration's proposals to force Canada to end its supply management system. The next round of talks are set to begin November the 15th in Mexico. That'll be a week from today, 2 days earlier than originally planned, to further discuss some of the issues surrounding textiles, labor, services, and intellectual property. Now, Conaway said that NAFTA is important to agriculture, and agriculture must remain a top priority in the negotiations. Peterson did not vote for NAFTA, but said yesterday there have been a lot of good things that have happened under NAFTA. He says he's supportive of efforts to renegotiate NAFTA, but that we need to make sure the end result, in his words, will work for agriculture and that we don't cause any harm to agricultural markets. Peterson added that he remains concerned about the impact Canada's supply management program is having on U.S. dairy and poultry producers. At the news conference, lobbyists for the National Milk Producers Federation and the International Dairy Foods Association said the administration is correct to take an aggressive stand with Canada on dairy issues. Peterson said he's glad that dairy is being considered in the negotiations, but in his words, I wouldn't bet the ranch on getting anything done. The lobbyists emphasized that the uncertainty surrounding NAFTA is hurting exports in an increasingly competitive international economy. U.S. Grains Council President and CEO Tom Slate said the South American grain companies are improving competitiveness every day, and Nick Giordano, the vice president and counsel for the National Pork Producers Association, said, in his words, we're at the tip of the spear in many markets. The European Union and other countries are already seeking free trade agreements with key U.S. markets such as Japan and Mexico, he says. And reflecting on the president's decision to withdraw from the TPP negotiations, Giordano said, we're going to lose pork exports to Japan. The meeting and the press conference seemed to reflect statements by another lobbyist that the administration's view that it would do no harm on NAFTA has now changed to do no harm unless we can't get a deal. That's why this lobbyist says agricultural leaders recently sent a letter to Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross about their concerns. The U.S. Grains Council and the National Corn Growers Association also released a report on the importance of exports in each congressional district. How much will the USDA change its previous forecasts for crop yields and stocks? We will find out this week, as we hear now from the USDA's Gary Crawford.
Coming up this Thursday, USDA will put out its new forecasts for corn and soybean yields and production.
But historically, we haven't seen huge changes from the October estimate.
Seth Meyer runs USDA's Outlook Board, which takes the USDA Statistics Service crop yield estimates, uses them with other information to forecast supplies, use, ending stocks, and prices. For October's crop report, enumerators went out in late September to thousands of fields, checked crops, sent mature samples to labs for analysis, also surveyed farmers. That process was repeated late October for Thursday's report, and Meyer told us
a lot of those ears in the field are making their way to the lab because they're mature. Plus, farmers' opinions are also probably better because they've been out in the field and they've got some yield estimates. So it tends to be that yields don't change a whole lot for, say, corn or beans at this point.
So the focus of his group will shift a bit to global trade trends.
And that'll be the big influence for carryover stocks in the U.S. this month, not changes in production.
The USDA reports come out Thursday, noon Eastern Time. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Washington.
A Kansas woman who has taken agricultural advocacy straight to the consuming public has now won a major award. Todd Domer tells us here that she is sharing a story that needs to be told and spawning a new wave of advocates along the way.
Jamie Lindemood of Eureka has been named the 2017 winner of the Beef Magazine Trailblazer Award. She joins a long list of innovative people who have been honored with this award for looking beyond their fences to make the beef business better. Lindemood is the spark plug behind A Day at the Ranch, an effort she conceived after taking part in advocacy training during the 2016 Kansas Livestock Association Leadership Conference. Putting her energy and organizational skills to work, the Lindemood Ranch and Dale Banks Angus of Eureka conducted the first event in April 2016 and followed it with another in 2017. A Day at the Ranch brings urban and suburban consumers from Wichita to the two Flint Hills operations to give a hands-on look at how beef and crops are produced. Participants the past 2 years got to see ranching in action, including prescribed pasture burning, calves being worked, and farm equipment. This year, the group even took turns bottle feeding 2 orphaned calves. Lindemood said consumers on the tours have been genuinely interested in seeing how their food is grown and where it comes from. She said once consumers know how it gets to the table, they become the most effective advocates for the beef business. At the conclusion of both tours, people asked Lindemood how they could advocate on behalf of beef and help tell agriculture's story. She will receive the Trailblazer Award during the 2018 Cattle Industry Convention, January 31st through February 2nd in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm Todd Domer.
And lastly, in the headlines today, the World Health Organization issued a strong statement this week against the use of all antibiotics in healthy food-producing animals. The WHO says overuse and misuse of antibiotics in both animals and humans is contributing to the buildup of antibiotic resistance. The organization says that 80% of antibiotic use is in the animal sector, most promoting animal growth instead of treating disease. The USDA issued a statement yesterday afternoon from Dr. Chavanda Jacobs-Young, the USDA's acting chief scientist, who said the WHO guidelines are not in alignment with U.S. policy and are not supported by sound science. She went on to say the recommendations erroneously conflate disease prevention with growth promotion in animals. We'll be back with more after one last break. You're listening to Agriculture Today. Agricultural producers, landowners, and creditors, you have a partner in your legal and financial needs. Kansas Agricultural Mediation Services offers reliable, trusted information and guidance. Whether you need advice for ag credit concerns or are transitioning your operation to the next owner, Kansas Agricultural Mediation Services can assist you in making sound decisions for your business. To learn more, call 800-321-3276 or visit us online. This is Agriculture Today. Stop, look, and listen. This is our state, Kansas.
They were lucky and did pull it off.
That's Gus Vanderhoeven of Kansas State University with comment on life in rural Kansas.
Looking at the weather for the last 10 days, they were lucky and did pull it off. The it was their wedding. Jonas, my grandson, and the bride wanted an outdoor wedding ceremony. Actually, at one time they even considered the farm as a place to be. They loved the farm and the grassy hills, but to hold an official wedding there would not have been practical. There are no amenities. Yes, there is one outhouse, brought in years ago all the way from Holton. It was a gift from our oldest son, who then lived near Holton, and the outhouse was standing close to their barn. The outhouse, a quaint relic, no longer used. The bride and groom found another very suitable location to hold the outdoor ceremony and then gather inside for the meal and togetherness. Always an important part of weddings, a family gathering. The family was well gathered. Only my oldest son uncle to the groom, could not make it as he had commitments. But his family came, and that was great. The reason the farm was looked at was because of the grasses. They wanted a fall wedding with all the color of leaves and the grasses. We even talked about driving out to the farm to collect the tall grasses we needed to decorate with. But like with many weddings, one has to adapt. Adapt continually. Yes, we kept our eye on the weather, but as it was October 28th, it was a near perfect day. It might have been the last perfect day of autumn with sunshine and no wind. The Sunday following was also a gorgeous day, but by then they were married and the family, cousins and uncles cleaned up because the outdoor ceremony was held outdoors. The little glen was decorated with grasses. The closer the day of the wedding, the more I realized that to have control over grasses, I better go to the nurseries to see what might be available and suitable. By this time, we were no longer looking at possible costs. What was important was what would work, what would create the setting with grasses. A few days earlier, I had gone and looked at the site. It was a wooded glen with big trees rising up to a steep bank, a natural, small amphitheater, and I liked it. To get there, you walked across a mowed grass field. No waving grasses, but colored leaves along the edges. Yes, plenty of them. That told me that a nursery visit was a must. I looked at 2 nursery garden centers and found at the one what I needed. Tall grasses with beautiful seed heads. The choice of grasses, ornamental grasses, is impressive. And of course, to make your selection, you should go to the nursery or garden center in the fall, because it's then that grasses are fully grown. In spring, you cut them just like we burn our rangeland grasses. We walked away with a couple of hot red switchgrasses and the tall nippon maiden grasses. It had a beautiful plume as seed head, very prominent. As we needed to stagger the plants and layer them, I also bought sweet flag. Sweet flag is a much shorter grass but has a vivid green color, which we liked in our festive arrangement. Within their own pots, I potted them in much larger containers to make sure they would not blow over at the site. With the grasses in the large container set in place at the wedding site, I collected branches with fall-colored leaves and bright red berries. I used Tartarian honeysuckle, beautiful at this time of the year, but an aggressive pest otherwise. Together, it made for a great arrangement and setting. And when the groom and bride spoke their vows, I felt the setting was perfect. They had their grasses. The poem I had written and recited was also a contract that I would plant these grasses in a permanent location in their yard. And this past Saturday, a week after the wedding, I fulfilled that part of the gift. So they are settled, and I gave the plants the needed water. I don't think the transplanting shock was too big. The earth is still warm. Actually, when I took them out of their containers, I was surprised how matted the roots were. I opened the roots up carefully. It's something to look at when you buy plants. Don't get fooled by what you see above the container. Roots, good healthy roots, are very important. And pot-bound plants need help when being planted. You need to open up the tight root ball without damaging the roots. Not always easy. It's sometimes enough to cut along the outside of the root mass with a sharp knife or use the edge of your spade. Buying good plants is an art, and so is planting. do not just plop plants into the ground. And that makes growing healthy and quality plants even more of an art. Good, quality plants are not cheap. They cannot be cheap. The one grass I bought sweet like shade. I'm going to watch that grass. It may surprise me. It may surprise the neighbors once it crosses the fence.
Gus Vander Hoeven of Kansas State University with his weekly commentary on rural Kansas. That's our time for today. To remind you once again, each of our daily broadcasts is now available in podcast form. You can subscribe to that by going to our website, ksre.ksu.edu/news. Check that out if you're so inclined. Meantime, thanks for being along with us today. Eric Atkinson here. This has been Agriculture Today over the K-State Radio Network.